What's going on, guys? This is Kevin the Tech Ninja here, and today it's Samsung Galaxy Z Flip and the iPhone 13. Now, these are two completely different smartphones by design, but they're similar for each company. Hear me out. The iPhone 13 is a cheaper alternative to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and the Z Flip 3 is the cheaper folding smartphone to the Z Fold 3. Now, if you're interested in a comparison between those two flagships, I'll have my video linked down below and also in the card up top when that video is out. Also, if you aren't subscribed, please do and hit that subscribe button down below. Almost 85% of you guys aren't subscribed, and with tons of releases coming up and tons of videos coming up, make the best decision of your life and hit subscribe. Let's start off with design. The iPhone 13 has a traditional candy bar style form factor, and it's the one we've seen for years with the iPhone. Now, there is a ceramic shield protection on the front, a glass back, and an aluminum frame. Now, with the size and form factor of the iPhone 13, for me, I think it's the perfect size. I don't like larger phones these days, so a phone that I can use mostly one-handed is a phone that I tend to keep in my pocket. But even handier might be the Z Flip 3. This is essentially a modern day flip phone. It's compact, you can put it in your back pocket or your purse, and you don't have to worry about it. Now, when you close it up, it's a little bit thicker, and maybe that's a drawback, but once you open it up, then it becomes a very thin phone. It reminds me of those old Motorola Razrs from back in the day. Now, here as well, you get a premium feel of glass and metal in your hand, and Samsung did a great job with durability. There's Corning Gorilla Glass Victus all around it, a stainless steel hinge that is not only strong, but it's the strongest material that has ever been on any phone according to Samsung. Then you have IP8 water resistance. Now, for a phone that is folding, for it to pack water resistance is really cool, and that is an amazing feat in the first place. So kudos to Samsung on that. But there isn't any dust resistant, which I get why, but at the same time, for me, as someone who's a little bit more rugged with their phones, dust resistance is important. And the iPhone 13 has IP68 rating, which is water and dust resistance. But at the same time, these are two different style of phones, and getting dust resistance and water resistance on a flipping phone seems almost impossible at this time. A quick word from my sponsor, Dbrand. For less than 20 bucks, you can make your device look completely unique, change different colors, change different textures. I really love Dbrand skins, not because they sponsor me, but I actually use them on my devices. I love how you can make the phone look completely unique, get the color you absolutely want. Hit my links down below to Dbrand your device. With the Z Flip 3, you actually have two different displays. You have a 1.9-inch Super AMOLED cover display, and that's for things like notifications or quick replies and the clock and all those things. It's there. Now, Samsung made it bigger so you can actually do things with it and you can actually see it compared to the Z Flip 2. But beyond that, you're not using the Z Flip 3 a ton when it's closed. You're just checking for stuff, but that's really it. When you do flip it open, then you have your full phone, and it's a full phone. You have a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus dynamic OLED Infinity X display with 22:9 aspect ratio and 120 Hz refresh rate. So that means the phone does feel a little bit taller in the hands, but beyond that, it ends up feeling like a traditional phone once you start using it. Now, comparing it to the iPhone 13, it's just one display like normal. It's a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR panel, and it's just so much smaller diagonally, just makes it easier to hold. The highlight here for me is that the notch is 20% smaller than previous iPhones, and to me it's not noticeable, but it is smaller. The display isn't as nice as the Z Flip because obviously it doesn't flip, but it's just a nice screen overall. It looks really good, the colors are nice, it is very poppy, and it's glass, so it's just a better experience using it. The Z Fold 3 kind of feels a little bit plasticky still. I mean, it's better than previous years, but when you compare just using the screens, I think the iPhone screen just feels better. I will say this version of the iPhone, it's still a 60 Hertz panel, and for a lot of people that's not a big deal, and many people watching this video won't even know the difference. but there's new technology out for faster screens, faster refresh rates. The iPhone Pro model has that, but this one does not, and the Z Flip 3 does have that. So if you're into like the latest in tech when it comes to screens, the Z Flip 3 has you covered when it comes to refresh rates. As far as audio go, I think both phones sound very good. They're both stereo speakers, but I do like the bass heavy sound from the Z Flip 3 better than the iPhone's 13. But you know what? That's just a personal opinion. I think they're both, and either one is good enough for me. I think for the iPhone 13, if you've used the iPhone 12, maybe the 11, you're not gonna have a much different experience. It really feels like a software update. Sure, there are a few things trickled in that makes it a better phone overall, but using it, you don't have a different experience at all. That's not a bad thing by any means. I am an iPhone user, but it did get a spec bump, so it has a new A15 Bionic CPU, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and of course you get, you know, better applications, you get a more polished experience, you get that, you know, that ecosystem and all those things. On the Z Flip 3, there's a bit more you can do. So first of all, it has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 CPU and 8 gigabytes of RAM, so double the RAM. And you also have One UI 3.1.1 on top of Android 11, but that gives you options for things like multitasking, the slide out menu for more apps and things like that. And also you get flex mode. So for example, if you're in the camera app and you flex it, it puts all the controls at the bottom, or if you're going through photos, you can look at it. The phone essentially turns into a stand, and the phone recognizes that you have that, and it just makes things a whole lot easier to use the phone. It makes it much more flexible, if you will. So this year, the iPhone 13 still sports a dual 12 megapixel camera setup with updated camera sensors. There's a wide and ultra wide angle setup here, and straight away, the quality difference is visible, especially on the ultra wide. It feels like Apple has worked really hard to make the ultra wide much better than before. The Z Flip 3 has the same dual 12 megapixel setup, and it just doesn't feel as polished. It has lag when you're clicking and taking photos with the shutter button, especially using the ultra wide angle. Edges are just much more softer, and overall, in all categories, the iPhone is just going to be a better camera. Now I'm going to talk about specifics, but just your takeaway here is that the iPhone's camera is just better. Now, I will say the Z Flip 3 does have a better zoom. There's not a periscope lens or anything, but it goes out to 10x digital zoom, where the iPhone is a 5x digital zoom. So here is an example of the 5x versus 10x. Yes, it's further, it zooms further, but the quality is still pretty bad when you're doing that. That's probably the only thing that the Z Flip 3 has going for it camera-wise than the iPhone. I feel that for video, the iPhone 13 is just way more sharper. I mean, if you take a look at this grass, you can just see how much more details. You can actually see blades of grass and not like a matte. You know, for colors and overall performance and even the microphones, the iPhone is just going to be better. The iPhone 13 also has cinematic mode, which is new to this generation, and it's very similar to Samsung's portrait video mode, but I'd say it's more flexible, it's smoother, and I think it looks better too. You know, each phone has a selfie camera with 12 megapixels, and I think, especially in low light, the iPhone manages it to be a little bit better. I took this selfie on the Z Flip 3 and it came out washed out and a little bit blurry, where on the iPhone I was able to adjust the lighting using the screen and made for a decent result. And this is like pitch black. And just overall, when taking selfies, I just find the iPhone just looks more natural, whereas Samsung does this thing where it smooths your skin, maybe even lightens the skin a little bit, even with that stuff turned off. I just don't like how images look out of any Samsung device, especially the front-facing camera. Just not a big fan of it. And I think that's the essence of the comparison. You know, the Z Flip 3 has this unique device, unique form, and I really love how the Z Flip can just go in your pocket and you're done using it. But what happens is that you have this really bad battery life on the Z Flip 3, makes it a phone that was hard for me to personally use day to day. I couldn't last a day. The iPhone 13 is just a typical tried and true way the phone looks. You know, it's not special. When you have it, people are not asking you questions, but what you do have is a really great battery life. Now, granted, I have not had a chance to use it several days over, but with the iPhone 12, it had a much better battery than the Z Flip 3, and the iPhone 13's battery is better than the 12, so I know it's going to be a much better battery. The Z Flip 3's battery is pretty small. It's 3300 milliamp. You have 15 watt wired and 10 watt wireless and 4.5 reverse wireless charging. And yeah, so it charges pretty slow too, with a bad battery, which is really tough. The iPhone actually has a smaller battery at 3095 milliamp, but overall the battery is much more optimized. It just lasts longer even though it's smaller. The Flip also charges at a slower speed, so even though you have a smaller battery, it charges much slower than the iPhone as well. There's so much about the Flip that I loved, and it was gearing up to be one of my favorite phones, but it fell short when it came to battery. If I can't use you all day long, I can't keep you in my pocket, and that's just one of the things that was a major drawback for me. Anyways guys, those were my thoughts of these two phones, and these are two of their entry-level phones that can get you in to the latest flagship for the cheapest price. Anyways guys, Kevin the Tech Ninja, have a great day. Holla at you guys later. Peace.